General Samamye!
The legacy of a soldier is not created by solitary incidents or isolated actions. It is the procreation of every thought and every impression that is defined by the times in which he has served and delivered. Such was the legacy of Lieutenant General Sagat Singh, a hero, a warrior, and a legend, and a military commander who truly had a talent for war. Belonging to the elite 3rd Gurkhas who still bear the imprints of his personality and impeccable military ethos, Sagat was a general of unmatched fervor and vision. Somehow lost in the winds of time and left unspoken is the story of this military genius who helped shape the destiny of the nation and redefine the way the world saw India as a rising democracy and a regional power. In the year 1965, when war clouds were looming and times were turbulent, the Pakistani army was threatening the Western Front, while the Chinese were exerting pressure from the east. The Himalayan borders were activated, and the battle of the famous Nathula and the Jelapla passes was fermenting. At no cost could these passes be lost to the Chinese, and as the general officer commanding of the 17 Mountain Division responsible for Nathula, Sagat Singh knew this very well. Clausewitz said, "No soldier ever became great without a little audacity." Sensing a rapidly deteriorating situation and fearful of another humiliation at the hands of the Chinese, orders were given to vacate these passes. The 27 Mountain Division, responsible for Jelapla, withdrew, but Sagat, decisive in action and definitive in thought, acted otherwise. Instead of withdrawing, he beefed up his forces and ordered erection of a border fence. Belligerent Chinese protests were met with an even more aggressive response from the Indian side, with Sagat's valiant soldiers fighting this epic battle with uninhibited bravery and valor. The Indian response this time was so intense that it changed the way the Chinese saw the Indian army.
My father, without taking any orders, he ordered the artillery to open fire, because Chinese had started artillery fire also and mortars. So he never took anyone's permission. He opened fire first with the field guns, then with the medium guns. Now, 4 days this firing took place. And Chinese had more than 300 killed. He says, when the IB, that time there was only IB, they said that Lhasa hospital is full of Chinese casualties.
Such was the persona of Lieutenant General Sagat Singh, whose unshakable self-belief and courage of conviction gave the powerful Chinese a bloody nose, forcing them to withdraw and giving us a distinct tactical advantage which remains till today. Born in the land of warriors and heroes, Sagat was the eldest among 9 siblings. His father, also a soldier, retired as an honorary captain from Bikaner Ganga Risala. Sagat too followed his father, starting as a Nayak in the same regiment. Blessed with an impressive bearing and a compelling charisma, he soon moved up the ranks and became a second lieutenant within no time. As a platoon commander in the Sadhu Light Infantry, Sagat was baptized by fire in the Hur rebellion in Sindh and the Rashid Alvi revolt in Iraq, and soon matured into a combat-ready soldier fighting in the torrid battlefields of Syria and Palestine. Thus molded a battle-hardened soldier, ready to take his rightful place in his country, which, along with him, was also transforming. The capitulation of the Axis powers brought an end to the Second World War and changed the balance of power among the Allies. These winds of change also blew over India, whose tryst with destiny saw her awaken to independence. Recently married to the graceful Kamla Kumari, Sagat was at that time a brigade major in the Bikaner State Forces. A new India brought a new avenue for Sagat, who was absorbed into the folds of the Indian army. As the nation grew in stature, so did Sagat. After some enriching instructional and staff tenures, he took over command of the 2nd Battalion of the 3rd Gurkhas in Firozpur, which was handpicked for a visit by the then Defence Minister K.N. Kajju, who proudly lauded the battalion's impressive turnout in open forums in Delhi. Sagat also commanded the 3rd Battalion of the 3rd Gurkhas in Dharamshala, which excelled in his visionary leadership. India's formative journey would continue to cross Sagat's destiny, and soon came a moment that redefined India's sovereignty. The state of Goa, which had been under the Portuguese for over a century, was beginning to rise up, and calls for freedom were getting louder. With diplomatic efforts failing, India decided that Goa had to be made a part of the nation. During this time, Sagat was promoted to brigadier and, in an unprecedented move by the army headquarters, nominated to take over the prestigious 50th Parachute Brigade, which was also known as the Pegasus Brigade. Never before had a non-para officer been handpicked to command a fully operational para brigade. A true professional, Sagat began his preparations by undergoing the grueling para probation training, earning his wings in record time. Sagat's selection for the para brigade was not a coincidence. This was ratified when he was tasked to assist the main thrust of 17 Infantry Division by forming the northern prong of the advance to Goa. The plan was implemented flawlessly, and Sagat's advance was so swift that they were the first to enter Panjim, bringing Goa back into the folds of the Indian polity.
पूर्व से 17 डिवीजन जनरल कैंडेट के नीचे अटैक करना था और सब्सिडी अटैक पैरा ब्रिगेड के दो उत्तर से होना था, जिसके कमांडर थे जनरल सगत सिंह। ये तो सब्सिडी अटैक था, पर 17 डिवीज़न पहुँचे उससे पहले पंजिम के कैपिटल को, गोवा के कैपिटल पंजिम को जनरल सगत सिंह ने फतह ही कर लिया। ये उनकी विशेषता थी।
In these operations, Sagat's repute as the liberator of Goa became renowned and soon reached Portugal, where a bounty was announced for getting him back to the Portuguese government alive. Sun Tzu had said that a great leader always fights a battle he is destined to win. Perhaps this adage is best epitomized by Sagat, who truly had a magnetic pull towards action, always finding himself in the eye of the storm. Towards the end of the 60s, another threat was looming in the far hills of Mizoram, where East Pakistan had fomented a proxy war with India by funding insurgency amongst the Mizo tribes. The situation became ominous when the Mizo National Army took over the Mizo hills and imposed self-rule. Such a hostile and challenging environment was tailor-made for Sagat, who, as the general officer commanding of the 101 Communication Zone, found himself in the middle of the scuffle. He transformed the methodology of fighting insurgency by winning the hearts and minds, establishing robust training procedures, and psychologically isolating the miscreants.
When I read the sitrap of this area, I find sitrap red with our own blood, Indian Army blood. But this is your post where I see कुछ छींटे हॉस्टाइल्स के हैं जो रेड हैं.
He was among the first generals to exploit the potent air dimension, planning special heliborne operations to intercept the guerrillas in remote areas. His fervor for the unexpected saw for the first time in recorded Indian history a surgical strike across the border into East Pakistan, a strike which caused a major setback to the insurgency, leaving no choice with their leader Lal Denga but to flee to East Pakistan. His contribution in setting the stage for inclusion of Mizoram into the mainstream was recognized by the award of the Param Vishisht Seva Medal. The journey which Sagat started as a Nayak had now reached its pinnacle. He was promoted to a Lieutenant General and moved to take over the prestigious 4 Corps at Tezpur.
So in 1970, when he was posted to, from 101 Comzone area back to 4 Corps, there was a radio announcement by our Doordarshan Hindi service and Chinese service that we are very happy to inform the Chinese that the famous general of 17 Mountain Division is taking over 4 Corps. They just wanted to tell them that the same chap is coming, so you be careful.
Like his previous commands, this too was not a coincidence. He had been handpicked by Sam Manekshaw to be part of a war that would have a definitive impact on the geopolitics of the region. The year was 1971 and East Pakistan was engulfed in flames. The proud Bangla people were getting increasingly subjugated, tormented by rampant violations of the human rights by the Pakistani army under Niazi. The cries for help were spreading far and loud, and their reverberations were felt the most in India. Time had come for a decisive intervention, and there was no choice but to carve out the nation of Bangladesh. And as destiny would have it, this cut too would be delivered by none other than Sagat Singh. The lightning strike planned by the Indian Army involved multi-pronged approaches into the heart of East Pakistan, and Sagat's troops were to close in from the south and east. With 3 steadfast divisional commanders and an experience of diverse wars, Sagat mobilized his corps to Agartala, a major logistical achievement in one of the most remote corners of India. On the day of reckoning, his formations crossed into East Pakistan in 3 prongs to occupy maximum enemy territory and help in materialization of the grand strategy to isolate East Pakistan before its final capture. After closely influencing the victory in the hard-fought and bloody Battle of Akhoda, Sagat had seized the initiative and would now not allow inertia to set in his troops. He identified Sylhet as a crucial town which needed to be held. He summoned Group Captain Chandan Singh and asked him to airlift a battalion to induct into Sylhet, a move which was as bold as it was brilliant, setting the framework for further progress of operations.
Now you have to land a battalion. I said, I have got only a number of helicopters and I cannot land. I'm getting more orders. I ordered more helicopters to join you and go and meet General Brigadier McQueen of that area. And he'll tell you which battalion to be lifted onto Sylhet, and we'll take this brigade, Pakistani brigade. Most of their people are wounded badly, but even then orders are orders, and they were told to move. So I had more helicopters came, joined me up from, and we lifted the battalion in the night.
Audacity and tenacity were the 2 qualities which were deeply ingrained in Sagat's very fiber. Whether it was the dash to Daudkhandi, the attack on Maulvi Bazar, the capture of the Lalmai Heights, or the landings at Bhaira Bazar, Sagat never once let go of a fleeting opportunity, relentlessly prodding his troops to move forward and beyond, always thinking of the next battle, even while the present one was being fought. He had the unique ability to envision the end state and provide the resources to meet that end state. Always having a knack for the unconventional, he brilliantly used the Caribou short takeoff and landing transport planes to drop 500-pound bombs to scatter the hapless Pakistanis and create a sense of panic amongst them. Panic which had by now reached the Pakistani leadership. Even though the advance of 4 Corps progressed at a gallop, Sagat always had his eyes on the bigger prize, the capital and headquarters of East Pakistan, Dhaka. Sagat's forces had chewed their path right till the banks of the mighty Meghna River, and all that was needed to be done now was to consolidate this lightning advance into a decisive victory. Dhaka was beckoning, but time was at a premium, and it was here that Sagat delivered his masterstroke. He airlifted an entire brigade of more than 1,200 troops in more than 120 sorties across the unforgiving Meghna River. This was the coup de maître which got the Pakistani army down on their knees. In Niazi's surrender ceremony, though Sagat stood silently in the background, the real hero still stood out as the champion of that ethereal moment. Sagat became the only corps commander to have ever been injured in battle and was also conferred the highest civil award of Padma Bhushan. As goes the saying, generals don't retire, they just fade away. This unassuming son of India, whose generalship changed the map of the Indian subcontinent and catapulted the nation into a regional power, walked gracefully into the setting sun in 1974. He continued to serve his people by undertaking numerous social causes, always going out of his way to help the needy. He breathed his last on 26 September 2001. His cremation bore testimony to the legend he had become, with a massive crowd of leaders and common people alike shedding tears as he was slowly consumed by the sacred fire. Time may have obscured the legend of this man, but the people of Bangladesh never forgot. After 42 years, in 2013, Sagat Singh was honored on the Independence Day of Bangladesh, where felicitations were received by Ranvijay and Damayanti, his son and daughter-in-law. Cometh the hour, cometh the man. Sagat seized each moment that life threw upon him and has left an eternal imprint with the power of his personality, reminding us that his leadership was not only on the battlefield but over the minds and will of the people he commanded.